WWE programming, but I don't really care for that guy. He's not someone that I've got time for. Doesn't seem to be a very pleasant guy, is Bubba Ray. But with this, I'm going to play the clip from Rene's podcast, and this is just from the other day. So this is Rene. He's kind of he disputes the story that Sly told, saying that Sly said that it didn't happen, that Bubba didn't slap him backstage. So here we go. I'm going to play the clip here.
Well, so that was the Dudley's last run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fall was, yeah.
That's it. They had that Great American Bash main event against Taker, and they were gone, buddy.
Didn't they do One Night Stand? Or am I wrong?
They might have brought him back for 05, yeah, but they weren't rehired.
No. Yeah, that SmackDown run was their last run, really.
Yeah, because I remember the day they got released, it was at a TV taping, and both Bubba and Devon went right to Pat because they knew exactly why they were getting fired, because that little stunt that Bubba did with Sly, he slapped the shit out of him. And Sly likes to say that that's not what happened, his finger was bleeding, and fuck that. Sly, I was there. Bubba slapped the shit out of you.
We gotta get Sly back on the show.
Well, he won't admit to it because his ego can't take it. But thoughts?
Right. So there we go. So he believes that. Yeah. No. Bubba Ray Dudley. He's saying Bubba slapped the shit out of Sylvan. His ego can't take it, and that's why he can't own up to what actually happened. That's what Rene Dupree is saying. And with this, I mean, there's a couple of things there. I mean, first off, Rene's saying about that. That it wasn't long after that they got fired because of the incident. But the thing was, my understanding was that incident was when they were on the Raw roster, and this was around summer of 2003. So I think Rene's getting his timelines a bit mixed up, because they actually left WWE in July 2005. It was just a month after the One Night Stand pay-per-view. They had been away, they were on a sabbatical, they took a break. That was around late 2004. Came back for the One Night Stand in June 2005, and then the WWE decided not to renew their contract, and there was something there. I don't know. The Dudleys blame John Laurinaitis for that, and I know Rene, he doesn't have much love for that guy John Ace either. They had said that John Ace had purposely screwed them over or something, that they believed that they had the trademark to the Dudleys' name, but they didn't actually have it, and then they had to be called, Team 3D when they went to TNA. Something like that. So I think Rene's got his timelines mixed up. I don't think Rene's purposely lying. I just think it's probably years and years past, and wrestlers, they get all these things mixed up. All the traveling that they do on the road all the time, different towns, places, people they see, they maybe are just getting things mixed up there. But from what Rene's saying is that this did happen. There was an altercation, Bubba slapped him in the back. And this is what was out there. That was out there in the dirt sheets at the time in 2003, and that's the story that Dudley's told a couple of years after that when they did a shoot interview with Feinstein. But I'm going to play the clip though of Sylvain. So Sylvain, this is Sylvain Grenier, and this is very early on when the Cafe de Rene guy started, and this is Sylvain giving his side of the story.
For me, nobody was ever stiff in the ring with me, ever. Even Bubba with that time. He did slap me in the ring, but he never touched me backstage. Ever.
Okay, so tell that story, please.
Well, I fucked up the finish. I think I fucked up the 3D. I was quick. Oh yeah, I think I wasn't there. I was supposed to slide in and I forgot it. Anyway, I fucked up. And he was fucking mad.
Oh yeah.
He's right. I would probably done something similar to my, in my promotion or whatever. I probably did anyway. So, but the thing is, I cut my finger or something, and I was bleeding really hard from my finger. Okay. So, as thinking, I'm like, let's get collar. So I put just my finger over my head, and it looks like I'm bleeding really hard, but it's my finger.
Oh,
so
okay.
Even Devon said, come on, he's bleeding. I didn't want to say, no. He's not hurting me. I'm not in pain. He's just slapping me.
So he slapped you, then you went backstage, and then...
I don't think he slapped me. He was roughing me up, but nothing dangerous. Nothing dangerous.
Okay.
I don't remember nothing dangerous. I put my finger just to capitalize on the fucking blood.
Right.
But I went backstage
Right.
and I confront him because if you want to rough up, we can rough up. Just explain me, I fucked up, but maybe it hurt me a little bit, but I don't think my life is in danger. But I just want to confront him,
Right.
and I know he didn't slap me, that's for sure. but I charged, and I think we started exchanging pretty
back and forth verbal.
like pretty intense because Jack Lanza
Got in between you two? Yeah, Jack. He got in between.
Yeah.
And then I think Devon grabbed Bubba and pushed him back.
I don't remember.
Turned and I seen that, so I wasn't. And then I think I seen the blood. I saw blood.
Yeah, but that was from my finger. It was not. So, but I remember when Jack Lanza was between us, and I keep arguing, probably cussing at him or whatever, because whatever. I said, okay, but don't hurt me or whatever. Just anyway. So
the truth finally comes out,
Well, I know he tried to kick my tibia, and I was upset by the fact he tried to. I was like, what? That was such a rush move. I was like, what the fuck is? You want to fight him? But Jack Lanza was there, and I was a rookie. Anyway, so.
Hey, James, he was trying to kick him in the nuts.
Right, so with this stuff, I'll just get into the next bit in a second, but so the story Sylvain Grenier is telling is that, that something happened in the ring, because it was kind of weird, because initially it was almost like he's saying, oh, Bubba slapped him in the ring, then Rene asked him about it, but it was like, oh no, he didn't slap me, he was just roughing me up in the ring. So again, I don't know, I think with Sylvain Grenier, I don't know if you could call this selective memory, I think he's telling things that did happen. Number one, he probably did screw up a spot, and he was very green, young, very early, into the business. I mean, he just came out of nowhere, you know what I mean? Like, out of nowhere, he, in the main event of No Way Out, he's the referee for the Rock Hogan match. I don't think anyone had a clue who he was, right? And so he had a lot to learn, but I don't know what happened. They're maybe just getting, because they probably had a ton of matches with Dudley's, right? So they're maybe just going off different things that happened. There was different time, a different house show or whatever, and then putting it all together, but missing out the bit where I guess Bubba slapped them, and I do believe that Bubba Ray Dudley did slap him. I do believe the story. Going from Rene's reaction, I don't know the way, I don't think he's he knows that Sylvan's bullshitting, but he's not going to be jumping in and saying, no, that's bullshit, you're a liar. I think he's just, because I don't think they're friends, but they're, friendly. So he's just going to let it go, let it slide, let him talk. But I think he knows that it's not true. But then Rene did say something about, he noticed that there was blood there. The whole thing about, blood on your finger, and then, because even if you're bleeding from your finger, then you press it on your head, is it going to still look like that it's actually blood from your head, your crimson mask? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But I mean, from this though, I think again, it's a thing of an ego, men's pride. If someone slaps you, right, and you deep down know that you can't do anything about it, are you going to admit it? Are you going to own up to that? If you're guy, big ego, alpha male, probably not. Sylvain, his background was modeling. I don't think he's known as a tough guy. To get in the ring and become a wrestler, he probably could go, but a guy like Bubba Ray Dudley, would you be able to go toe to toe with him? I don't know, probably not. But Sylvain had a bit of pull though. He had pull being that he was close to Pat Patterson, so Dudley's could have been potentially punished after what happened here. But the only thing with that though, from like I said, going back to what Rene was saying before, is that incident with Sylvain and Bubba happened in 2003 in the summertime. Around that time, Dudley's, they didn't get the contracts renewed until July 2005. So I don't think the incident with Sylvain and Bully Ray had anything to do with that though. WWE decided not to keep them on. But I'll carry on.
Portion, and I remember Johnny brought us in a room.
Right.
And I said I quit. That's it. I quit. Remember that?
You wanted to quit after that? Yeah,
I think Johnny brought us with the Dudleys, and And Devon was really nice, you know, but I was the shits, and I know I had fucking 4 months, and I was World Tag Team Champion. That didn't make sense, but I was able to sing and talk and look the part, but I had no psychology, not at all. If someone would have grabbed me and say, okay, we do short movies. There's a bad guy, there's a good guy. Let's make the good guy look like a superhero, and after that, something happened, he get hurt, and now the bad guy's on top. And we think the bad guy's going to win because he looks so strong. And the superhero tried to come back, but he's not able to. But sometimes he can, and barely. But the big guy is so strong and mean. And at the end, the superhero, if someone would just tell me that recipe, 1, 2, 3, 4, how it works, I'm not stupid. I would have understand.
Yeah.
But there's no guide on wrestling. That's one thing. I never seen a book like Wrestling 101 for Dummies. That should be great for a lot of guys who want to get in the business. I would have helped me a lot.
Right. So there we go. I mean, with that, from what he's saying, yeah. I mean, he was very young into the business, but you know, a lot of these guys, they didn't care. They were going to take advantage of them. A lot of guys on the roster, they probably didn't appreciate lad resistance in that spot, getting a push. And then you had Rene Dupree, who was a tag team champion at just 19 years of age. So these guys, it was probably a case, I think, overall of too much too soon. And it's not even so much, it's all about, you know, what you do in the ring. It's backstage, it's all the political shit. And at that young of an age, when you're that green and you got a big ego, and you don't that whole understanding of playing the game, those guys were always going to struggle, you know what I mean? And Sylvain comes off like he's a dick, but he does come off like a dick, but he's like a guy who's at least upfront about it, which is what I can kind of like appreciate with a guy like him. But I think like when you've got a big ego though like that, and you're young, sadly in the end you're gonna kind of hit a wall. But from what he was saying though, feeling like he said he was gonna quit. I mean, I don't know. From looking at Rene, how he reacted to that, it's like he didn't remember that. But he probably did feel like quitting, because then I think it was like he ended up he broke his neck thanks to Bubba Ray Dudley. So I can understand if he just had enough and he was wanting out there and to deal with the Bubba Bully Ray's bullshit all the time. But I'm still pretty convinced that the story that's out there, that what happened, you know, Bubba slapping him, is true. But and I know Rene spoke about it before, that happened, that there was an altercation, Bubba slapped him, but then he was at the same time saying it was unnecessary, what Bubba did. But what I'm going to do though, I'm going to play the clip from the RF shoot interview that the Dudleys did, and this was in 2005. And this is Bubba Ray Dudley speaking about what happened with Sylvain Grenier backstage.
What happened with you and Sly? There was an incident or something like that the internet and people really focused on that maybe should not have been focused on.
The internet takes fucking tiny little things and blows them up. That's why I'm not a huge fan of it. And people who write for the internet and all these wrestling things should, you know, bother to come to a show and live the life of a pro wrestler just once, just to see what it's really like. But no, they'll hide behind their keyboards. We had been working with La Resistance for a couple of months, and they were coming along. They were green as grass, green as goose shit. And but because they were doing they had the gimmick that they had, you know, the whole French thing during the war, they were hated heels. And night after night, we were trying to help them and make them better, but Sly was just not catching on. Rene was doing well because he came from a wrestling background with his father. Sly was just not doing well, and there were nights where he just would screw up things that we had been teaching him for weeks. And one night he just screwed up so bad that we basically beat him up. Yeah, we kind of beat him up in the ring. We had to rough him up. It was like tough love in the ring, you know. Listen, if you're not going to listen to us, now we're going to have to stiff you and beat you up a little bit. It's old school wrestling 101. It's happened a million times before. When we got to the back, he came up to me and he said, "Why are you being stiff with me? Don't you know that I am green?" Which couldn't be any more disrespectful. So
At this point, I heard that I went, "No!"
I didn't punch him in the face or anything like that. I smacked him. I gave him a smack as if a father would smack his 16-year-old son for saying something stupid.
Right.
That's exactly what he did. He said something stupid and disrespectful. And the funniest part of this whole thing is when Johnny Ace tried to reprimand us for it. And, you know, guys, you can't be doing that. You can't be just beating up the young talent and everything like that. So I turned it right around on Johnny and I put him in a situation where only he could understand. I said, Johnny, what would happen if me and Devon came to Japan and wrestled you and Dr. Death? And for those of you who don't know, Johnny and Dr. Death, Steve Williams, were a very, very, very popular tag team in all Japan, in Japan wrestling. I said, what if we would have had a match with you in the middle of Corrigan Hall? And after the match, we would have came back and went up to you and Doc and go, hey, why'd you guys stretch us out there? Why were you so stiff with us? Don't you know it's our first time in Japan? What would have happened? And Johnny said, Doc would have killed you. I said, and I said, Johnny, would that have been right? Yeah. So why are you busting our balls?
Right.
Oh, you know, it's a different business. Okay, it's a different business, but you know what? Leave us alone. Don't talk to us. Talk to the kids that you know, that keep screwing up every night.
Like, but as soon as they lost the belts to the Dudleys, then they lost their heat, you know? I think that was a big mistake, that they should have had a longer title reign, and they could have been seen as a bigger, you know, tag team, like the original guys, you know, Sylvain and Rene. But from what Bubba's saying, and then Rene as well, that definitely I think this did happen, you know? I don't think Bubba Ray would just all of a sudden make that up. And saying, you know, I can believe that those words that he said, why you been stiff with me, don't you know that I'm green, that's probably exactly what Sylvain said to him. But it was just too much too soon for the guys and ladders of stance. I think they told a story about Sylvain Grenier that was like, he was like talking down to Carlito when Carlito was just going for a tryout like in 03. And it's like, Sylvain's barely been in the business. He's been in the business for a cup of coffee, right? And then he's talking down to a guy, Carlito, who's got the family background of his dad, Carlos Colon, who's a legend, you know, the Puerto Rico territory. So he just didn't seem to really have a clue, Sylvain Grenier. But he's probably an alright guy, but again, you know, he could be a bit of a dick, and he's upfront about it. Bully Ray's just a dick, full stop, who I don't like and don't have time for. But again, when all said and done, if I'm being honest, yeah, the incident probably did happen, but Bubba probably did actually smack him. But that's my video for now, guys. Feel free to like, hit the subscribe button, and let me know, give me your take. What do you think actually happened there with the backstage altercation with Bubba Ray and Sylvain Grenier? But that's me for now. Thank you. Bye.